Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Mike Dignan. I'm Head of Department for the Department for Events at the University of Surrey, and I'm also the Director for the new Observatory for Human Rights and Major Events, which we're calling HaRM, which is the UK's Olympic Study Centre. So in this presentation, hopefully no more than 5 minutes, I'm just going to give a whistle-stop tour in terms of what our focus is, what our priorities are, and what kind of projects we're doing over the next years, and how hopefully all of you who are listening to this might be able to connect in with us and collaborate in various ways. So on this slide, I'm delighted to introduce you to our team. This is the team for the Department for Events at the University of Surrey. Graham Berridge, Nigel Morgan, Emma Delaney, Yanning Lee, Christy Hehe, Tom Lunt, Jonathan Skinner, and myself. And sitting alongside the core team, we've got some visiting fellows. We've got 8 in total. We've got Lucinda, who's head of public engagement, who runs all the events at the University of Cambridge. We've got Chris Bryant, who's head of tournament delivery at the Football Association, who is responsible for many of the key Euro 2020 games. We've got head of events at Visit Scotland, Shona McCarthy, who runs one of the biggest cultural festivals in the world at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And then we've got Melvin Ben, who's Managing Director of Festival Republic, who run large-scale music festivals, in particular like Glastonbury, Latitude, Leeds Festival, particularly in the UK. We've got Sara de Carvalho, who's just recently got her MBE for supporting human trafficking education in major event cities, and there's going to be a little bit of detail around that I'm going to provide. Rick Stainton runs one of the largest events companies in the UK, and also a lobbying organisation to demonstrate the power and potential of events of all different shapes and sizes, from small scale events to large scale major and mega events in terms of their economic and social contribution. And then we've got Adam Moffat, who runs some of the largest half marathons in the country as well. And all of these visiting fellows play a key role in innovating our learning and teaching and research, and supporting research bidding as well for European but also international funding. So in terms of where our kind of cutting edge and contribution is, we're number 1 in the UK, number 1 in Europe, number 3 globally for the subject of leisure, which includes events, hospitality, tourism, and that's from the Global Shanghai ranking. We've traditionally always been very strong in terms of this subject area, and we've got a long heritage spanning many decades really in this area. We've got the number 1 journal for events, event management at the University of Surrey and the Observatory, and we're home to number 5 journal in tourism, the Journal of Sustainable Tourism. We've got strong academics, got strong publishing and funding profiles. We're very, very keen to work with the Olympic Study Centres to not only advance knowledge but also seek funding as well. So please do get in touch, and my details are at the end. We've got particular expertise in social, economic and environmental impact analysis and evaluation, particularly strong methodologies around how you do that, how you capture it, how you plan for it, and what the relation is between that and the visitor economy, and particularly in tourism development, which is obviously a massive thing for major and mega events now, particularly the Olympics, which are really focusing on these particular sectors. We've got strong policy industry networks, and a lot of our learning and teaching and assessment that we do with the students tries to embed all the things that I've just mentioned to get them involved in live briefs in some way, so they're working on really authentic case studies. So in terms of our specific aims, I'll read these off verbatim. So we work with those involved in the planning and staging of major events to advance inclusivity, sustainability and human rights-based agendas related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the United Declaration of Human Rights. We take a human-centered, critical and solutions-focused approach that balances these social outcomes, economic performance and environmental objectives. And through some of our partners, we harness the power of technological and digital innovation to solve problems and create opportunity to help events optimize their contribution to society. And I won't go through these in detail. You'll be able to kind of pause the video and see what these say in terms of the sub-themes, but we've got 3 key strategic projects that we want to focus on. The first one is around human exploitation and trafficking in the context of events, and that's split down into A and B, around educating, engaging with visitors, and analysing, exposing the problems and trying to find solutions for them. The second big part of our work is developing really strong and analytical and evaluative impact systems to really look at the impact of these particular events on local level, community, regional, national, international level. And there's a specific focus there on how do we make sure that host communities can benefit from these things as much as possible, right through to how do we understand visitor behavior and how they move and how they spend. That's a key thing for us as well. And the final one is around specifically about the environment. How do we use events to transform environmental policy? That's a big area. And then the second part of that is really to look at how do we inspire pro-environmental behaviors at events? What kind of management systems can we put in place? How do we change people's behavior? So it's important to note that the observatory sits in quite a kind of complex research constellation in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the University of Surrey. I'm going to specifically discuss 3 of the main research centres that we have. So we've firstly got SWELL, which is at the Centre for Sustainability and Wellbeing in the Visitor Economy, and that's about sustainable development in various ways. Then we've got DIGME, which is around how do we integrate new digital technologies and transform business models, from AI to robotics to sensors to Internet of Things to smart systems to using big data. That's where we've got that kind of strand, so we kind of connect in there. And then we've got COVE, which looks at really how do we balance the sustainability, the digitization, the social outcomes with maintaining strong economic performance for destinations, which is obviously really important that we don't ignore one facet of that triple bottom line, but we try and marry up all 3. So just to close with a few activities that we've been involved in since our incorporation in around March time of 2021. One particular thing that we're very proud of is that we've been part of a Tokyo 2020 global visitor education campaign, working with our strategic partner called PERALTY. As you can see, we've got the observatory's logo at the very bottom there of this poster, and essentially the entire campaign is around how do we inform visitors, domestic and international, to destinations, to try and tell them about the kind of risks around human trafficking, not only the kinds of risks that actually might be induced by hosting the games, for example, an influx of visitors and tourists really may increase the consumption and demand for sex work, for example. So this is a really big area, but it also shed light on various other everyday things that are going, irrespective of whether the event's going on. So that's the kind of campaigns that we've been working with. So there's a couple of kind of famous names there, from Usain Bolt to Liam Neeson, who's been fronting the campaign for It's a Penalty for some time. So it's a pleasure to be part of that. And they've got fantastic networks across Airbnb to Hilton to British Airways, American Airlines, Japan Airlines, and that sort of thing. So we've been able to kind of explode the visitor education campaign across Tokyo, and I've got a few images on the next slide. These are just some of the examples. So on the bottom right hand corner, if anyone wants the PowerPoint slides to these, I can send them over, and this is a link to the video that was played across Shibuya Crossing in the top right hand corner of that slide.
To change the world.
But
please be aware,
vulnerable children may be groomed and sexually exploited for money.
Offenders can be prosecuted either in country or when they return home.
You are called to see lives.
if you see any signs of exploitation, dial this number.
Exceptional platform for
It's a penalty.
Educating visitors about certain critical issues, and this critical issue is human trafficking, but it could really be anything from human trafficking to the environment. So we're going to be working with It's a Penalty over the next few years to do a similar thing for the Super Bowl, World Cup, Commonwealth Games, various other big events as well. So I won't bore you too much with what we've been specifically doing, but we've got a couple of projects underway. We've got a €101,000 project working with colleagues at University of West of Scotland to Coventry University and a few colleagues around the world, looking at how we look at and expose and analyze and solve problems to human rights issues in events. And that is the Event Rights project that I note here. So that's a whole range of mobilities to the USA, to Canada, Japan and Brazil specifically, to look at human rights issues in events. So if anyone's interested in connecting there, let me know. We've got a couple of smaller scale projects as well, looking at diversity in events and how we create assessment tools for making sure events can be as diverse as possible, right through to analysing how we educate visitors to the World Cup and other major events and analyse human trafficking risks. We've got a bunch of publications that you'll find on our website that we've published in the academic domain, and we've got 2 special issues underway, one on human rights in the Olympics with me and Lawrence Chalop, and then we've got another one on the relationship between events and urban space and mobility with David McGilvery. We've even included a new module to reflect our interest in this area and to promote Olympism and critique Olympism as well, called Critical and Human Rights Issues in Events, and that's quite important for us. So this slide just really briefly outlines a couple of things that we've been doing in the media, some analyses on the social and economic impact of Tokyo 2020, as well as a conference that we supported in Paris called City Events, Mega Events and Tourism, looking at the intercept between those as well, which we were particularly proud of last year. And just to cap off, there's a few ways to connect with us, both your Olympic Studies Centre and colleagues and the directors of them. So first of all, we're really quite keen to develop a visiting professor network, specifically with the University of Surrey, but obviously between us. Quite keen to get some select people involved in perhaps research, learning and teaching collaborations, and just improve mobility really and travel between the Olympic Studies Centres to improve that collaboration. So that would be great. Let me know if you're interested in that, and we can have that. We can have a chat further. In terms of bidding for European and international money, we're quite interested in doing that as well, specifically under the 3 project themes. So number 1, human trafficking and exploitation, is quite a specific theme. Number 3 is quite specific as well around the environment, but number 2 is actually quite broad and open to study the social, economic, environmental implications and impact of events. So hopefully there's something there for everyone really there. And we're just about to take over as the home of Event Management Journal, which again is the #1 journal for events and festivals in the world. It's a really, really strong journal, and we'd love to invite some members of the Olympic Studies Centre to join the editorial board to not only represent and critique Olympism, but represent your Olympic Studies Centre as well, your focus, expertise, and what you've got to bring to the party really. So if you're interested in any of these particular areas, you can email me at m.dignan@surrey.ac.uk. You'll be able to find my profile online as well as the Observatory's web link. So thank you ever so much for listening. Please do keep in touch, and apologies for probably going over a little time, but hopefully that was interesting, and I look forward to further collaborations. Thanks.